In this screen flow, I want to kind of cover how to sort data frames. We know how to create them, we know how to access them from previous screen flows and lectures, but what I want to do here is help you kind of walk through the process of actually sorting a data frame. And to do that, I'm going to take a look at the empty cars data set. So we have empty cars. I can just display it all, and you can see it's a built-in data set with a bunch of cars, and has a bunch of attributes or columns: MPG, cylinders, MPG's miles per gallon, displacement, and a bunch of other ones. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It looks like 11 attributes, and a whole bunch of different cars. Now what I'm going to do is modify this, but I don't want to modify the actual built-in data set. So I'll create a variable called myCars, and I'll store empty cars into that. And again, if we look up here in the data environment, we can see myCars. You can see there's 32 observations, or 32 cars. I have 11 variables. We can actually take a look, and they're there. So let's now get back here. So now we can change myCars, not worrying about messing up empty cars if we kind of rerun the code. I won't actually create the source code up here. I'm just going to play around in the console because I don't need to save it. But typically when you're building your programs, you're going to want to save it so you can submit it in for credit, things like that. So the first thing is let's just explore some basic things, attributes, if you will. So we can have a length of myCars. Again, that's number of number of columns. We can take a look at head and tail, first and the last. Case sensitive, right? So I need a capital C. Now my goal is to actually have this sorted, so the highest, for example, would be listed here. Clearly it's not. I can see the max MPG. So 33.9, I want to be the first one. So it's not one of the last 5 or the first 5 in the data set, in the way it's currently structured. So we want to try to sort that. Well, we can kind of do it a number of different ways. But first, maybe let's just try to experiment getting a subset of the data set. So could I, for example, generate something which is like the high MPG cars, so now do you think this code will actually work? Do you think it'll give me what I want it to do, which is give me all the cars with an MPG greater than 29? What do you think that'll do? Well, let's find out. Generated something and it stored the result in IMPG, so let's take a look at that. And indeed it does. So we kind of define this logical constraint, and then the different rows are only the ones with an MPG above that. So that's kind of a hint towards how we might try to do some sorting. You can see we can do operations on the different rows and columns and have R do the work within the data frame. Now we won't use the high one. We're going to go back to myCars and use the full data frame. And to kind of show how we're going to kind of work on that just a little bit, we can see how which.max works, which.max is, I think we've seen this before. It gives you the index, not the actual value. So we knew the value, if you remember before, if I scroll up here, the max was, here we go, max was 39. The index of that was 20. So if we do so what this did is we found the index with the car with the highest MPG, and then we took a look at that entire row. And I can do this programmatically rather than putting in 20. I can do index. And I can even do, make it more complicated, but the exact same logic. So again, which.max returns the index of the maximum MPG, and I use that index to get that entire row from the data frame. Let's think of something else. How about if I do, how about let's go back to high MPG cars. Caps are important. So here we have some code going on inside the data frame of my cars. Question is similar to before. So do you think this is going to do what I hope it does, which is order it based on MPG? Think it's going to do something arbitrary? Think it's going to give me an error? What do you think it's going to do? Okay. We have to explore. Oh, I had a typo there. MGP. We'll just use that. So I didn't actually look at the structure. I just looked at the exact data frame that I created. And you can see it's ordered. It's ordered by MPG, the lowest one being first. And you kind of need to understand how that's going to work. You can also see we want the highest to lowest. So the way you do that, you should put the minus sign in. Now it's going to sort it in reverse order, and it'll actually fix this typo. Now we have, you can see the highest ones first and the lowest ones. You can take a look at the first 10. So this is the highest 10 cars from an MPG perspective. Now I need to kind of go back and explain how in the world did that order function work. What is that doing? Well, maybe the first thing to do to kind of understand that is, let's just take a look at order of minus my cars dollar MPG. So it's kind of working like which.max, but instead of just returning 20, which is the highest one, it's returning all of the indices. And with all the indices, then we're passing all the indices into here. To give you a feeling of how that works, we can actually pass in a list here. Say 20 and 18, which is the two highest, as you can see. I want all of them. So the way R kind of works is I can give the highest index or just a list of indices in here. Because I put comma and I want everything else, it gives me all the different columns. And this gave me the top highest 2 based on these two numbers. So what's happening is when I put order in here, all these indices are passed in the appropriate order, and then R knows to kind of sort them based on that. So the sorting is actually coming based on the order function, which is very similar to which.max, but it's not just which.max, it's all the different ones put together. So that in a nutshell is how you can sort, and that's very useful because sometimes you want to look at the first couple or just take a look at how they are, but you want to look at not just the MPG, but all the different attributes, for example. Okay, thank you.